Hello, I'm Matt Beer, and I know this is a little weird. This is probably the first time you've ever seen me move, so look a little more homeless than you expected. This is gonna be something different than normal. I wanted to make sure that you guys, you've been following me for a long time. I wanted to make sure that I keep things fresh as best I can. So give me some feedback. I know some of you are gonna like to read updates more than watch a video, whether that be because you're on a commute and you don't necessarily have a way to listen to audio, no headphones or something like that. Either way, give me feedback, let me know. I'm not gonna do all the updates like this, but I wanna do this more often. Definitely tell me if that's not something you want. Or tell me if it's something you love and you definitely want that. So this is gonna be an opportunity for me to get closer to you, or if you guys have been following for a long time and you didn't expect me to look like this and I've alienated you completely, I apologize. But let's get deeper into what I do for Toby's Island and a better behind the scenes sort of devlog type thing. Okay. You're welcome. One thing I spend a lot of time doing is working on maps for the game. I've never really given you a full walkthrough of how that's done, but it starts in Photoshop and you literally make the map the same way you would draw like a digital picture. Only when you're making a game, you tend to save assets that you've made in the past so that you can reuse them in the future. That's the most effective way to do things. However, for a lot of maps, there are things that I do just create for that map and then never use again. But a lot of the time, you can reuse ground textures and rock textures and stuff like that. Once you're finished making the map in Photoshop, you then have to put it into the game and actually teach the engine where the player can walk and where they can't walk. And in the case of Toby's Island, you can also inform the system what happens when a player steps on those spaces. For example, water splashing when you step in shallow water rather than jumping into deep water or running on sand and kicking up dust, those sorts of things. And you also teach it where the player cannot go, obstacles and stuff that you would run into. So then all of the numbers that you saw me placing on the last map correspond to this array here in the back end that's set up in advance. And these are the audio file names, as well as the pitch and the volume, and whether or not it calls on third-party events that are on other maps to display visual effects and other side effects like quicksand and stuff like that. Then one of the very last things you do in terms of just the map work itself, so that doesn't include like the creatures that you see and the enemies you encounter, but just the map, you have to make sure you tell the game where the player goes when they step off the map. So you do that with location events. And then you do something nifty where the other locations actually just run a script to call the first location. That way, if you ever need to make a change or edit it, you don't have to edit it for each event location. You just edit the first one and the rest call the first one. So there's little tricks that you can do that make it efficient, and then you just spam those all over the map. So the other thing I've been working on and spending a ton of time on, and let me tell you about that thing, is animating the cutscenes that go into the game. Well, not everybody cares maybe too much that the cutscenes are there. They were really important to me because at some point I wanted Toby's Island to be very cinematic, or at least as best as I can make it, and that requires a lot of work. And so, just 2 seconds of footage is about 85 frames, and that takes a lot of time, and a lot of this starts as a planning sketch, which that in itself makes it possible to really, handle the rest of it, because it's a lot to wrap your head around, and then only after do you do the good copy and put it all together. So that's all I really wanted to talk about today. I wanted to keep this reasonably short for the first one. I think next time we'll probably talk about battlers and how I actually put together a fight scene and how you break down the animations that work in that. And I think it'd be pretty cool. But for waiting to the end, I'm going to reward you guys with probably the most gameplay footage I've ever showed off in one sitting, and I'm actually pretty proud and pretty excited to show you guys this and, give it a watch just for me. Thank you.